What's up, toy fans? Hope everybody's doing well and staying healthy during this crazy times. Just thought I would do a little quicker video. I promise I'm going to get shorter on my videos and all that, but this is on an update. I went to the Toyman toy show this past Sunday. I actually live in southeast Missouri, and the Toyman toy show, if you don't know, is a fantastic toy show in St. Louis, Missouri that they do every other month, sometimes back-to-back months depending on it. And it was it's a great experience. They've been doing this thing since 1990. They'll have guests there, either artists or actors or things like that, but wonderful. If you have not heard of it, it's called the Toyman Toy Show. It's fantastic. So I did get a nice little haul while I was there. Usually I think I got around 100 items, which is usually average. I go 3 or 4 times a year, usually pick up between 80 and 100 different items because I just love it and all that. So my latest additions, again, this is you're inside the Eternia section. If you were privy to one of my collection tour videos, this is the Eternia section of my overall tour. I think that was featured in the first part 1 of the videos that I did. But the Masters of the Universe Classics, I was able to pick up a few pieces, versus which finally I got a nice Gronomir. All that guy is one of the first booths. You know, when I walked up there, I had a Gronomir sitting pretty and just had to have him. He's a great addition. Love that piece. There's also a green version that was a Comic-Con or a convention exclusive, I think, that is on my radar as well. But he is the original one, and he looks good displayed there in the corner. Again, I'll jazz up the backgrounds around him and make him look really cool and stand out. But he was the first new addition that I picked up there at the toy show. The second Motu Classic item I picked up at the toy show was Mr. Fearless Photog right there. Fearless Photog, if you don't know, was part of this is in reference to a contest that they did back in 1985, possibly early 86, that was done by Mattel, the makers of the vintage He-Man line, and they actually had a really cool contest for us kids that you could create your own He-Man character and send it in, and if you won the contest, they would actually publish your character in an episode of the cartoon and get some other bragging rights. I think there was some money, and I think the grand winner would be able to fly out to the factory and see how they make and create the designs out in California. It was fantastic. Would love to hear from someone else. I actually entered that contest. I had actually 4 different characters that I entered into the contest, and I was actually one of the semi-finalists, and for one of my creations, who was called Mirror Man. And my prize was I won a $150 shopping spree to a place called Venture, which that store doesn't even exist anymore, but it was through Venture Toys. And I got a little certificate, saying I was a semi-finalist and all that, so it was really cool. But this was the winning creation. I don't remember the child's name that created Fearless Photog, but he was the overall winner of that contest. So finally, and to make good on their promise, again, they were supposed to have created his likeness for the vintage line character, but alas, the line was canceled shortly after that contest. They never put him in the cartoon or in a toy form until the Masters of the Universe Classics a few years later. So finally they made good on their promise to the young man that won the contest, and here is Fearless Photog. Very cool design, so I could see why he was picked as the winner. And then also I picked up at the toy show, next one was the holiday version of He-Man. And this is kind of in reference, I think, to if I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, the He-Man She-Ra crossover Christmas special episode that they did of the cartoon and all that. He comes with the candy striped sword and the hat and all that, kind of unique piece. And he was also gift wrapped in this particular box, which I'm going to use eventually as a backdrop because I think it's really, really cool. Has some unique artwork to it, but that's what his mailer box was wrapped in. So it makes him a little bit separate from the rest of the versions of that line. And then the other piece I picked up was Mr. Lord Mask, right here on the end, looking pretty. He was from a very, very famous, one of the top episodes, I think, if you fans were voting on, that had to do with Chakotay, and I think it featured, Ram Man was in that episode. It was a really, really cool 2-part episode where they discovered this ancient tomb that had some traps and things like that, and it was designed by Chakotay, and I think Lord Mask was involved in that, but that's where he came from. So those were the additions to the Motu Classics line that I picked up at the toy show. And then as we swing around here, showing you again glimpses of the room that I showed you earlier, is swinging over here to my vintage section. I was able to pick up another version of Catra, and this time she had her shield and her sword, so I picked it up even though I have a version of Catra sitting right there who has her kind of her fluffy dress, but this one had her sword and shield, so again picked it up for just a couple of bucks. Again, these toy shows you find amazing deals. And I was also able to pick up a bow, which it's hard to find bow with his quiver, but this particular booth had him, and believe it or not, I paid $5 for that, so you cannot beat that at a toy show price. Fantastic, especially since he's had his bow. So those are the He-Mans I was able to pick up, and now I will swing over to the action figure, main action figure room, and I will show you some of the pieces that I picked up in there. Follow along with me. Alright, as we turn the corner here, now we're going down into the hall here, going past The Simpsons and past Dick Tracy and Indiana Jones, and we're going to move on over to one of my newer shelf displays I created, and I was able to pick up finally the 4 original Ghostbusters from the Real Ghostbusters line, 1984. This is such a super popular line, and I was finally able to pick up. They had all 4 of them for sale, and just I could not beat the price. 2 of them still had their separate ghosts with them. You'll notice Egon there does not have his backpack, but I was able to find his backpack on eBay, and I've already ordered it, so it should be here probably within the next day or 2. So he will have his original backpack with his the little ray coming out of it and the little twirly action and all that. So again, very, very good price on all 4 of them. I couldn't pass it up because this is a super popular line right now that seems to be going up in value. So I was able to pick up all 4 of the originals and hope to add more to this. This is one of the newer shelves that I'm constantly expanding. I've got a huge space that I plan to completely fill up with all these different amazing lines that I just love to collect and complete. So now I will swing over to this side of it, the mask section. I was able to pick up Iguana, which is complete. It's got Lester Sludge and his helmet, and it was in great condition, so he was also a nice little find there at one of the booths to add to my mask collection, which is ever growing. Can't wait to see that thing when it is finally complete. So then as we sweep on over past little Marvel lane, as I call it, all the Spider-Mans and the Marvel superheroes, I was able to pick up, as part of the Marvel superheroes line, Hulk in the Rage Cage. He was in the box, had all the cool pieces. Again, I've had all the figures in this particular line for quite a while now, so now I'm going back and picking up the vehicles and the kind of the deluxe series things, which he was the only deluxe figure set, if I believe, in the Rage Cage. So now I'm just down to a few of the vehicles, one of which is really hard to find and really pricey. That is the Punisher van. Part of this line is probably the most rare item out of this Toy Biz Marvel Superheroes line, but I did find Hulk in his Rage Cage for, again, a really good price, so I was able to add him to my Marvel Superheroes collection. And as we move over here to the X-Men X-Force section, I was able to add several pieces to that one. As I swoop all the way down here to the lower shelf here, I was able to pick up, and also across the bottom there, I had Eric the Red, Shatterstar 3, and Genesis. Those 3 were all at the same booth. Again, they had all their accessories and swords and guns, and Genesis with his little sidekick there. So again, a nice little finds there to complete. I'm down to 2 figures left that I need out of the X-Force spin-off line of the X-Men series, and then I need just a handful, less than 10 in the actual original X-Men line. And they were some of the later series, like some of the light-ups and the missile flyers and a couple of the monster armor ones, and that's all I need out of that series, and that will be complete. Next, I was able to pick up at the toy show, going over here to my Dungeons and Dragons line. Again, a line I love, and I don't see a lot of these collections out there. When I'm looking at some of these toy videos, I was able to pick up a very cool piece, the Fire Elemental, and he came complete with his orb, which it's really hard to find him. And I was also able to pick up a Zogar and a Drex, are those 2 guys. Also that original, of course, the D&D line had 2 different sets of figures, so to speak. They had the posable ones, you know, like the ones that you see up here. And then they also made through LJN a non-posable line, as you'll see there, like this guy here, and down in here those two guys, the Frogman and then the Fire Elemental part of it. But I combined them all because they were kind of in the same realm and they could be displayed together. So it's both the posable and the non-posable. So those were nice little finds. It's hard to find D&D guys, but I was really, really excited to do that. And then, oh, I cannot forget, flashing back up across here to this nice little corner here. Again, Silverhawks, one of my favorite. Very, very difficult line to find the figures in. I was able to pick up a nice looking flashback. And you can play, his mechanism works. So he was a great, great find. Really nice guy. And the guy I bought it from was also featured in the really, really cool show they used to have on, I believe it was a Travel Channel, called Toy Hunters with Jordan Himbro. If you haven't seen that, check it out. They have the episodes on YouTube. Fantastic. Well, this guy was featured in one of the episodes, and he is a regular there at the Toyman Toy Show. Awesome find. I like talking with him and talking toys and picking up some of the neat things that he has. And as we scroll down, I was able to pick up a bunch more of the Hasbro wrestling figure lines to add to my collection. Essentially this whole second and third shelf here that you see here, everybody in that line from British Bulldog to Warlord to the $1 Million Man, who's my all-time favorite wrestler in the green suit, Jim the Anvil Neihart. Was able to pick up another Brutus the Barber Beefcake, first series Ultimate Warrior, Animal from the Legion of Doom, Greg the Hammer Valentine, Superfly Jimmy Snuka, and then the Rockers, Marty Jannetty and Shawn Michaels, one of the best tag teams. And then, just for good measure, they threw in 3 of the wrestlers that I hadn't normally collected from the Galoob line, so they kind of sitting here all by themselves. The Steiner brothers, and of course Sting in the middle. Sting still had his belt. It's hard to find those guys when they have their accessories, so I just picked them up for next to nothing because I bought a huge lot of them. He kind of threw those in there. So I'll have to make a nice little display. Again, this wood in the back will be completely jazzed out. It'll make it look, I'll use some WWE and WCW artwork behind there to really make it stand out. But that was from that particular line. And then coming over here, again, one of my other favorite lines here, Lord of the Rings. Absolutely love this series. I was able to pick up a nice little row of guys here that you see at the end, the Frodo and ring bearer form. Then the Eye of Sauron, which actually still works after all these years, which I thought was really cool. He lights up like that. And then we got another version of Legolas. And then one of the archers from the second movie, The Two Towers. And then also Legolas in council robe. So those guys were also picked up. Very nice gentleman had those for sale. Very, very few booths had Lord of the Rings stuff. So I was happy to find it and just picked up everything that he actually had. So now let me back around and we will be making a corner past what I just showed you, the X-Men. And we'll be making a turn now into Star Wars Street. If you guys remember from my other video, coming up on Star Wars Street here, I was able to pick up some more figures in my episode 1 line, which was the light up Qui-Gon Jinn, bookmarked with the light up Darth Maul. And then I was also able to pick up the 2-pack that came in, the Battle of the Jedis, Sith Darth Maul versus Jedi Obi-Wan Kenobi. They also had that one available there. I was able to pick up those 2. And then also coming all the way down, because it'll be a new shelf from the 30th anniversary line, I believe, is a holographic Darth Vader. And then from the original trilogy line, the holograph Darth Maul. Pick those up again, believe it or not, $2. So essentially $1 a piece on those. You cannot beat that. This is what's great about this hobby, is you don't have to spend a lot of money in order to find the things that you enjoy and love. So those were my new additions to the ever popular Star Wars Street, which is ever growing and growing. You can see I've got the shelf space to move all the way across there. So all the way up in the corner, which is dedicated to the line that started it all, the vintage line, is able to pick up some more guys. And they are located here in the front. Got a Bespin Han complete, Dengar, a Bosk, and an AT-AT Commander complete. Those were all finds there at the this last show. So Star Wars is always pretty plentiful when you go to these shows, so it's nice to be able to pick up several. And getting close on vintage line. I guess I'm about over halfway done. And then I need to go back and pick up some of the weapons that I didn't have, and that line will be complete. So that is what I picked up on Star Wars Street. And then next we will be traveling over to Heroes Way. Remember, that's the other section of the room, and get to check out what I picked up as far as Batman and other superhero items. So let's take a journey onto Heroes Way section.